Conversations with Azu Ishekwele.
There's a saying that crises and challenges present opportunities to provide solutions to intractable problems. The removal of subsidy on petroleum products in Nigeria and the attendant inflation in the cost of living has presented such an opportunity. The National Gas Expansion Program, started by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited since 2020, was meant to enhance the gas value chain and to harvest compressed natural gas, that is CNG, and liquefied petroleum gas, that is LPG, to fuel cars and for cheaper domestic cooking energy sources, respectively. The advantages in gas are not disputable. It is cheaper, cleaner, and a safer source of power. How has the NNPC Limited worked towards achieving these lofty goals since 2020? Will the introduction of the Presidential Compressed Natural Gas Initiative bring about the full production of gas-driven cars, stop the environmental pollution in the Niger Delta, turn Nigeria into a global gas exporting country, and above all, lessen the economic hardship faced by Nigerians following the removal of subsidy on petrol? Welcome to Deepening the Conversation, a weekly diary on life and politics, written by Azu Ishekwele.
Conversations with Azu Ishekwele.
It's good to have you, sir.
Thank you very much for having me once again, Julius. It's a pleasure to be back.
Yeah. Talking about gas expansion, Nigeria remains among the top 7 gas flaring nations in the world. And these countries reportedly account for 65% of gas flares globally. Isn't the stoppage of flaring the best place to start the expansion project in Nigeria?
You're absolutely correct about that. I mean, there are records to show that in 2022 alone, about 5.6 billion standard cubic feet of gas was flared, and the value of that, I think, is about $680 or $687 million. That's a lot for a country that a country that needs energy, needs to put energy to work as desperately as we do.
And needs money as well.
And also needs the money from it. So absolutely, you're absolutely correct. Putting gas to optimum use is something that is absolutely necessary and vital for us.
Okay, there's always a twist with every project meant to transform Nigeria, be it Ajaokuta steel, be it agriculture, be it the textiles industry, and even lately Nigeria Air. Perhaps the National Gas Expansion Program might turn out different, or you seem to be warning that it's about to be another white elephant project.
Well, I just thought it was important to remind us again of what we're probably already aware of. The National Gas Expansion Project was flagged off by former President Muhammadu Buhari on the 1st of December 2020.
I have directed the Minister of State, the Group Managing Director of the NNPC, and all managers of the Natural Gas Expansion Program to adopt a market-led approach in the implementation of their mandate. The program will focus on encouraging investments through the establishment of conducive and enabling environment in order to encourage and galvanize potential investors in the gas subsector of our resource-rich economy.
It wasn't the first effort, really. It wasn't the first effort to popularize, if you like, the use of gas. But at least in the last 5 years, it was perhaps the most significant effort in that direction. And the promise as of then was that 1 million cars will be converted from petrol to either LPG or to CNG use, or what is popularly called auto gas, apart from expanding the use of gas also in domestic cooking. But here we are. Just last week, the special advisor to the president of media and publicity, announced that the president was inaugurating a special presidential initiative on CNG, and it just makes you wonder. Well, that's okay, but why don't we just ask ourselves? So, what has happened to the effort? What has happened to NGEP, which was launched 3 years ago? Where exactly is that at this time? What happened to the 1 million cars that were supposed to have been converted to auto gas in the last 3 years? That's just my question. Whether the presidential initiative is going to be another white elephant, we don't seem to ever be tired of white elephants. I think, but it appears to be our favorite pet. But I think as media, we have a responsibility all the time
to ask questions.
And that's what this column is about.
I also deduce from your article, without your expressly stating that just like the suspended CBN governor, perhaps the GMD, that's the Group Managing Director of the NNPCL, should answer some questions on the gas expansion project. But there's not the slightest indication that this might happen anytime soon.
Well, I don't know. The authorities, we have done what we ought to do, and I think the appropriate authorities know what to do if they really want to follow up on those leads. But clearly, the effort, the auto gas effort, as I said in this article, was not just the effort of the Ministry of Petroleum Resources and the NNPC. It was NNPC, the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, and then the CBN provided what it called a support fund to extend the value chain of 250 billion naira. So I would suppose, of course, that there was a framework for all those involved to work together. So what we need to know is exactly what has happened to the fund under that particular framework. All those who are involved in it obviously would have to answer be accountable for the funds that were set aside for the implementation.
Perhaps the president might be more, the presidency might be more interested in the gas car as a fundamental strategy to address the subsidy removal and in the long run, addressing other problems associated with the petroleum subsector. So what informs your cynicism about the presidential initiative?
No, I don't think that I don't think that I was, well, I do not suppose I was being cynical. I think I was just asking questions so that we don't just keep stumbling, And it's a good thing if the government also wants to go back and see how we can put the huge amount of gas that we have in this country to this. But again, you ask yourself, there are how many households? It's less than 4 million households have access to domestic cooking
out
gas.
of a population of over 200 million.
Yeah, well, of course, households, you can just take an average of 4 persons per household. So you can say out of 50 million households or 40 or 50 million households, just less about 4 million have access to cooking gas. So it's okay to talk about auto gas, but it's also important as part of leveraging of this resource to think about how we can apply it to some domestic use. And before you even go into this whole business of auto gas, I don't know the sort of research or the sort of data that we have. I don't know whether you want to convert your car. How many Nigerians out there are prepared to convert their cars? Or generators, and then what it really involves. The question is how, what kind of policy, under what kind of policy framework are you going to do this? We can't be doing everything ad hoc.
Okay, finally, at this rate, do you see the Akwa Ibom to Kano, the West African gas pipeline, and other gas-based projects becoming reality in the foreseeable future?
Oh, sure. Whatever, governments or individuals or communities apply themselves to do, and if they do it diligently, there should be results. But it is not just making announcements. It is also, there's also been a fundamental issue of gas availability. Not that the gas is not available, but of how harvesting the gas, of securing the pipelines, making sure that the assets you need to deliver on this sort of projects work. It's not just to talk about them as grand schemes, but also to ensure that you follow the process, ensuring that the gas is properly harvested, ensuring that you get the sort of investment that you need to harness it to deliver the pipelines, to create the sort of structures and the markets that will deliver.
Stop flaring.
Exactly, to stop flaring the gas. So it's not just announcing grandiose projects.
All right, this is where we land. The full text of the article we've been discussing, among other engagements by Azu, can be found on the site azuishekwene.com. Conversation with Azu is about the most syndicated newspaper column of any Nigerian writer, primarily featured on Leadership and Vanguard newspapers every Friday. It can be accessed online. It can be accessed on online media platforms, including Premium Times, The Cable, The Interview Magazine, Neptune Prime, News Chronicles, and a couple of others. It's adapted and published by Clarín of Argentina, City Press, Daily Maverick, and Mail and Guardian of South Africa, and Daily Graphics of Ghana. You can read or listen to the audio file of all articles at azuishekwene.com. Visit our social media handles on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Like, comment, and above all, don't forget to share. Thank you for deepening the conversation, Mr. Azu, and bye for now.
Conversations with Azu Ishekwene.